Welcome to Margin Points, essays 43, 44, and 45. Everlane, barrels, kin. AI at the doctor's office, closed procurement, where's a good place to drink bourbon? Bundle in the waiting room. We now have two sides of the same coin. AI transcribers for doctors to record their consultations with patients, and specialized AI transcribers for patients to record their doctor visits. Instead of let my robot talk to your robot, MD, it is let my robot listen while I talk to you and your robot MD listens. This market will be a test case for whether the future of AI is perspective specific. The exact same interaction, the doctor's visit, is being built into two separate approaches and venture-backed companies. Kin Health announced a $9 million fundraise today to grow its patient-led AI transcribers. It is the other side of the coin of Abridge and Ambience, which both focus on AI transcribers for doctors. Established industry stalwart Epic, after partnering with and learning from Abridge, now has its own transcriber for doctors. Doctors are trying to accomplish a bundle of objectives in the visit. They care about the patient's health, but they also the efficiency of the interaction, the billing, and the patient satisfaction, among other things. The patient just wants to remember what the doctor said and be able to focus on the moment without worrying about writing it all down. On the doctor side, there's also a different buyer, the healthcare system or the hospital that is paying for a bridge. On the patient side, the patient is the user and the buyer. The discrepancy is part of the reason why the different business models for the tools. A bridge has an enterprise sales process to the healthcare system or hospital. Kin Health has a direct-to-consumer process and is providing the tool for free to patients. It hopes to monetize via referrals to specialists and labs. Presumably, it'll build a sales motion towards those specialists and labs when it has enough volume on the patient side using the tools. This is come for the tool, stay for the network, applied to AI healthcare. So where will the bundle begin and end? Will we have specific point solutions that are user-specific, like a patient-only AI transcriber that sits all alone? Probably not, because what was that thing again? Given that the patient tools are designed specifically to help with forgetfulness, it's much easier to think that there will be a bundle for patients, not a whole bunch of separate tools that you need to remember. On the doctor side, either Epic grows its share or Abridge or others become meaningful players in the workflows. Doctors and healthcare professionals are in the tools constantly at work, so brand memory isn't a factor at all. What does the patient bundle look like? Well, it might start before the visit at Doctronic, which helps patients self-diagnose and ask questions to AI and refers patients to doctors with notes. Then it hands the notes off to Kin Health for the live visit, enhancing Kin's transcription with prompts at the end of the visit to not forget key questions or topics that weren't covered. Finally, the follow-on can go to GoodRx or Cost Plus Drugs, with monetization on the specialist referral or lab work. Healthcare is a big market that OpenAI and Anthropic have shied away from for now. The liability and brand risk push this out on the roadmap, but not off of it. The component companies like Kin or Doctronic need to be great and bundled to be in the best position when the big players bring their bundle to the patient. Essay 44, Bourbon's Location. We have a lot of bourbon sitting in Kentucky. It's time to start getting more creative with it. From the Wall Street Journal, quote, Kentucky is sitting on roughly 16.1 million barrels of bourbon, the equivalent of around 300 million cases, according to the Kentucky Distillers Association. That's the largest reserve ever, enough to last as much as 10 years, according to industry estimates. This comes after a 2022 COVID peak in production and consumption. Consumption has dropped off for a variety of reasons. Quote, more Americans are joining the ranks of the sober curious, and inflation has prompted some steady drinkers to cut back. GLP-1 weight loss drugs are having the same effect. Cannabis and THC beverages are widely available, offering a hangover-free buzz, end quote. Looking at the data, there has only been a roughly 4% drop in sales since that 2022 peak for bourbon. So while fewer people are partaking and people who are partaking might be doing so less, demand hasn't fallen off a cliff to match the sour mood in the alcohol industry. Some of the demand has also shifted to other alcoholic drinks, which seems missing from a lot of the discussion. The mix of drinks Americans are consuming is always changing. Within other alcoholic drinks, Fireball has been growing quickly. The production side was driven by the predictable, never a shortage without a glut to follow, quoting Nassim Taleb. Bloomberg recently profiled bars that are getting creative with cheaper drinks, proclaiming, quote, death to the $20 cocktail. Barkeeps are going further to offer $10 cocktails that are still profitable. The price point goes down easier for customers. At the lower price, quote, Barry says there was an immediate behavioral shift as customers started quickly ordering second and third rounds. The price point often encourages you to order a second cocktail. I would rather make less margin and have you order a second cocktail and leave knowing you had a good time and want to return, Barry says, end quote. There's no reason to be whiskey dour. Price can still move product. More important is to not forget where the customers are. Stoli, which owns Kentucky Owl, was building a 420-acre tasting destination in Kentucky, complete with pyramids and a massive complex before it went through bankruptcy last year. Quote, each building is designed to have a distinct structural form that incorporates visual elements of the local bourbon making process. The existing quarry pits will be turned into beautiful lakes with crystal clear limestone filtered water. End quote. Kentucky as tasting destination should be inverted. Bring the barrels to the big cities and create experiences around them. Mini stills for demonstrations, knowledgeable presenters, tasting rooms, and inspection and mixing of corn, grain, barley, and rye in different proportions. There's inspiration to take from other alcohol producers like the tequila and winemakers about how to craft experiences. Sure, going to Scotland for Scotch tasting is awesome, but it's not the right investment here. Instead of overseas, look to Baton Rouge and what Raising Cane's has done with their fried chicken. They took a heavily southern brand, which would have had a hard time getting visitors to its birthplace in Louisiana, and brought it on the road to where they could get unique exposure. With a prominent New York City location right in Times Square, they are taking the product and showcasing it to where the audience is, not just where they are. It doesn't seem at all out of place, but rather like a vendor bringing their goods to market and selling themselves directly. Right now on the shelf, the product is just the product. With all that pent-up inventory, there's a big incentive to turn that into stories and something more. If you can't bring the people to Kentucky like Stoli was trying to do, then do what Raising Cane's did and bring the bourbon to the people. Essay 45, Seeing Through Everlane. This weekend, Everlane sold for $100 million to Shein after raising over $150 million in venture capital and another $65 million in debt. There's certainly irony in the sale to Shein, and many are using this exit to dance on the graves of consumer D2C businesses writ large. More important is that others learned from Everlane at the time and had major successful outcomes in other categories. Back in 2011, you can know exactly where your clothes come from and how much they cost was the simple yet groundbreaking brand promise from Everlane. Customers didn't realize it, but they were being introduced to the concept of procurement and the work that goes into it. Caring about more than the finished product, purposely made important by the brand, which highlighted this info on all the product pages. Oh, that's what their markup is. Oh, that's how much shipping costs. Well, you could see it all. This drove a lower cost to acquire customers and higher retention for those who love the concept. In the food category, RX Bar sold for $600 million and marketed the bars simply with the ingredients in huge letters on the packages. Customers appreciated the transparency on the most important thing they cared about, ingredients, and didn't sweat the provenance or the cost breakdown. Wise, formerly TransferWise, has a $12 billion market cap as a public company today. Wise showed customers its midpoint costs and fees on currency exchanges, which was in stark contrast to bank offerings at the time. Wise hit the scene shortly after Everlane and focused on transparency. Here's the co-founder back in 2012. Quote, "What we value above all is transparency and keeping our customers happy. By transparency, I mean we always exchange money at the mid-market rate and clearly show what we charge for service. There's no hidden fees or charges that get added at the end of the transaction." Banking and food were places where the transparency hit and worked. Clothing ended up being a nice feature without the commensurate pull. The three industries have massively different considerations for customers making a buying decision. Even if transparency ranked highly or was mentioned by customers, how it fit into the actual decision was probably a lot murkier. The ingredients and the cost savings were more important. The transparency helped tell the story. The idea of transparency was powerful, and it pushed Everlane forward for a while. In the end, the same idea was much more profitable for others. The right tool for the job.